Hi folks, today is the destruction of Force Z. HMS Repulse and Prince of Wales get taken to the bottom of the South China Sea. An interesting thing to show you is the U.S. Army Air Corps sinking the Friedland. So one of the things that we're getting ready to put back up is this picture on this day. So it's easy to bust the chops of Admiral Tom Phillips, the commander of Force Z. But compare him to two other characters. Compare him to Jack Aubrey, Lucky Jack from Master and Commander, and compare him to Captain Sobel from Band of Brothers. Sobel is a spastic guy. Lucky Jack is what you expect in the best traditions of the Royal Navy. We're going to go out and we're going to do it. So, Tom Phillips, well, he gets, in this great book of naval history, gets slammed a bit by, well, of course, another British officer, who said Phillips had no modern combat experience, and as one air-minded flag officer, said, Phillips, like a lot of admirals, never believed in the air, and now, poor devil, he knows. Okay, well, what was Phillips going to do? He had two capital ships. He's the only thing standing in the way of a Japanese possible invasion task force, and he's a British naval officer. He's going to go make something positive happen. So, and what would I have done? Hi diddle diddle, straight up the middle. I'm going out there, even though I know the RAF, well, may show up, may not show up. They have command and control issues, and the British forces in Malaysia at this point are in kind of a sleepy mode. So, the larger tactical, operational, and strategic picture was murky, although he'd known that the American fleet was now at the bottom of Pearl Harbor. So, but what are we talking about here today? We are talking about the destruction of Force Z. I have this cover. I had somewhere a color version I printed off, but this is a Minden game. It's probably a 20-minute game. That's all it is, 20-minute game. I've played it a number of times. Really, really like this game. Does not have mounted counters. It has a tiny little map, but at least it's good card stock. The counters are, I think a good word is weenie. They are weenie counters. We'll look at these later. Perhaps some of the planes have T's on them for torpedoes, others have B on them for, well, bomber. So tiny counters. All the tables are on this. Consider this both an unboxing, kind of a fast game review. We have 11 game turns. Now, what are you going to do here? Well, first, the two ships are a little hard to distinguish. They're not horribly hard to distinguish. But what you do, and you notice this is not a hex map. You move. You could say get a W2 on this. Okay, movement table. 2W, 2 west. Well, you could move up to 2 west. So say you're here, you could go 1, 2 west with your force, or you could go 1, or you could do nothing. Pretty easy to determine that. It's colorful, as you can see. Now, what would I consider this? This is the game engine. This tells you everything you need to know to play the game. Again, easy. The biggest ally is the British player you have. Well, there's two. This starts to sound like Monty Python skit because I always think of additional things. The first is the weather. The weather allows you to try to dodge the Japanese. Because once it becomes not overcast, your odds of getting spotted are about 67%. Your second and here becomes the assumption of risk. Your second one is to no comms. No comms makes it harder to spot you. The Japanese can't triangulate on you. However, no comms means no RAF support. So it becomes, at what point do you want to maybe try to get RAF support or not? Well, I generally play trying not to get RAF support and staying hidden as long as I can. You're going to be begging for 4 and 5s in this game because that allows you to try and hide. Sometimes I don't last 5 turns on this. So if you're doing a session report, consider you're probably going to go for 40 minutes. Not a session report, 20 minutes, and you may go as little as 10 if you get only up to 5 turns. I find that in this game the tension gets thicker and thicker each turn because you may end up running into Japanese naval forces, air units, submarines, and you're hoping to get to the coast at a minimum and bombard possible landing sites. You hope to do that. Once you break radio silence, it's broken for the entire game. Not breaking it is a +2 die roll modifier for you, which again, we come back to the facet, it makes it harder to find you. The game engine will have much more trouble finding you. There's some nice chrome in the game. There's sub-attacks, there's minefields, the shadowing of force and I think you hear the Holly Jolly Collie out walking around right now. And Japanese cruisers and battleships might be generated. In fact, in reality, there were 2 Japanese battleships and 7 heavy cruisers versus what Tom Phillips had, 1 battleship, 1 battle cruiser, and 4 destroyers. Not an equal fight here, folks. The game system moves the Japanese units. They could move 0 to 3 hexes. The British player 3 times a game can move up to 4 hexes. Some game turns he's really going to need it to try to get away from the Japanese player. It's again, we come back to the assumption of risk part, and that's what makes this game so much fun. If you get spotted, there's a 67% chance that the bombers are going to find you. And once the bombers start coming in, they're generated off of, again, the game table. And here it is, like Japanese bomber table. Torpedo planes, depending upon what modifiers are in play and die roll. And then you could get up to 60 planes at one time coming at you. You also have the rule, which I like, is Captain Tennant's ability to comb out torpedoes. He did a magnificent job this day maneuvering the Repulse to avoid torpedo after torpedo after torpedo until the Japanese finally did sort of a ham and sickle on him and came in from both sides that he couldn't avoid. So he had to try to figure out the best thing he could do, and at that point, the Repulse starts getting hit, and, well, you know, there's no odds. The good thing about the table is it is possible on the table that you may not generate any bombers. Well, usually that's not the case. And then there, of course, is the what are the chances of getting hit? Then there's the torpedo damage table, and then there's the critical hit table. So we've got both of those coming up. Of course, so you might sight the transports. The odds are they will scoot away from you, but you could still see them. So not losing your ships goes a long way to winning. But if you don't do something, you're probably not going to generate as many points and you aren't going to score well. So again, I will show you the table close here. And it's funny, I teach a lot for the Air Force on the South China Sea. So you see it's not a really big map, but it's you know, it works. So, there you have it, folks. Little game. I think highly of it. You can read my actual comments on Board Game Geek as well. We'll post this to YouTube. And, you know, sorrowful day for these folks. When the Japanese got done sinking them, they later dropped a wreath over the site of the 2 sunk ships. So, that's about all, folks. As always, we thank you. Goodbye.